Hi, and welcome back to the Drama Free Healthy Living Podcast. I'm your host, Jess Cording. And today we're going to be talking all about easy breakfast to support healthy metabolism. I apologize in advance. My audio quality might be a little subpar this episode, just doing that thing, recording during nap time. So just doing my best here, but really happy to be here with you today. So, as a dietitian and health coach, I've been supporting clients, but especially women, for almost 15 years. And something I've found just over and over is that so many women don't eat breakfast or don't eat a really supportive breakfast. And yes, that is a generalization, but yes, it also is a generalization for a reason. And something I find myself talking about again and again, and you probably heard me talk about it on this podcast before, is just breakfast is really important. So today I wanted to share a few of the reasons why this is so important and share some info on key nutrients, as well as some of my favorite and client favorite high protein, for example, breakfast ideas or breakfasts that are high in other nutrients that are really important. Okay, so why breakfast matters? So breakfast is important for helping stabilize blood sugar and energy levels after fasting overnight. And when I say fasting, I mean just sleeping or just having the time from your last meal or snack until your first meal of the day. I get a lot of questions about intermittent fasting and, what should you do in terms of like how long should you wait to eat? And a mistake I've seen so many people make, especially women, is that they end up eating later in the day, but then they wait until really, really late in the day to eat breakfast. And there's a sweet spot where, and I think we're still learning about fasting, especially in women, but in terms of what is in the research at the time of recording this podcast, that it seems that the magic, quote unquote, or the sweet spot is limiting late night eating. So eating really close to bed and less so about staving off breakfast as long as you can. Something I've seen happen is women try to wait till like noon, 1 p.m. to eat their first meal, and then end up eating a lot, either too short of a window, which puts additional stress on the body, or they end up eating too late in the day, or they find that they're just ravenous, and that's not helpful either. So this is also especially problematic if you exercise in the morning. And a lot of the people I work with do tend to be morning exercisers. Not all of them, but if you are exercising in the morning, you especially need breakfast after your movement to support muscle building and retention and just recovery. Additionally, just something to keep in mind too, for especially for women over 35 or women who, as we get closer to that perimenopause, menopause phase of life, a balanced breakfast also supports more balanced hormones. It's also important for muscle maintenance, important for mental clarity, things that feel a little more elusive as we get into that phase of life. So what I often see is like skipping breakfast or relying on like refined carbohydrate, like a granola bar or a sugary coffee drink. That can lead to those mid-morning crashes, those sugar cravings, sluggish metabolism, not super helpful for mood. So I tend to recommend, it doesn't have to be right when you wake up, but within a few hours of waking up, you want to have some protein. This is really important for preserving lean muscle, supporting satiety, so helping you feel full, preventing blood sugar spikes that can lead to the crashes. You want fiber. So this is great for supporting gut health. And we know that that plays a big role in that gut brain connection, supporting good mental function, cognition, mental health. Feeding the gut plenty of fiber rich foods is really supportive of that. But also, fiber helps with keeping you full for longer by supporting more stable blood sugar, kind of slows down the digestive process, and that helps you feel full for longer. And healthy fats. We need fat for nutrient absorption. We need it for helping regulate hormones. We also need it for just providing sustained energy. Oftentimes, if someone is getting really hungry through the morning or their energy is not, they're not getting carried very far, that often is a sign that they may need more protein, fat, and or fiber. Those are the big three I always encourage focusing on at breakfast: the protein, the fat, the fiber. But then micronutrients can be helpful too. So like magnesium, B vitamins, antioxidants that are coming from nutrient dense whole foods. These are also great for energy and just helping us be more resilient against the stress that can come through the day. I get asked sometimes, to go back to the fasting, like how long should you fast? How long should you wait to eat? And again, there's no one correct answer, and I think we're still learning. But when I'm working with a client who is interested in fasting, I'll say maybe you try 12 hours overnight, right? If you have dinner at 7 p.m. or that's your last eating occasion, as a use a more clinical term, then maybe you don't have breakfast till 7 a.m. For some people, they do well with a little bit bigger fasting window. So maybe that's like 14 hours, sometimes 16. Anecdotally, though, I have found that, and the research does support this to an extent, but when the fasting window is too long, like I've worked with women who were trying to restrict their eating window to be only like 4 hours in a day. And those were the people who were not feeling great physically, mentally, found that they were not losing weight when they wanted to lose weight, not great workout performance. So just something to keep in mind. It is really individual. And also, you don't have to fast. I just want to be really clear about that. Like we go through different seasons of life where certain things might serve us really well, but maybe we're going through a season of life where that's not what's needed. So pay attention to your body, your hunger cues. How are you feeling when you wake up? What's going on in your morning? What are you doing? What do you need energy for? Those are all things to factor in when thinking about when to eat, how much to eat. But if you are exercising in the morning, I definitely recommend aiming to have a protein rich meal, protein and carbs to support recovery, ideally within 30 minutes, if not within 2 hours. So that if that is helpful to keep that in mind, just little nugget in there. So in terms of what to eat, so again, going back to that protein, fat, fiber trifecta. So as I'm recording this, I'm in a big phase with a Greek yogurt bowl just because when my daughter wakes up, it's like I need to be on. So I need something that's easy to make, easy to eat. Can also be made ahead if I needed it to be. But that can look like berries, chia seeds, or nuts. Maybe like if you want to do like a low sugar, high fiber, high protein granola or high fiber cereal, that can be useful. Other things, overnight oats. This is a client favorite. I often will do overnight oats, actually put the oats in Greek yogurt overnight and add chia seeds. And then the next day I might add like a little drizzle of almond butter, maybe some berries on top, something like that. That can be really nice. You could do a cottage cheese bowl if you're not into yogurt. That can be served sweet or savory. So if you're doing sweet, that would be like fruit, maybe some ground flax, some cinnamon. Or if you're doing savory, you could do like chopped cucumber and tomatoes and olive oil. So avocado is great in that context. So that's another thing to be incorporating in there. You could also do like a smoothie. I love a smoothie. Honestly, right now I'm doing a lot of smoothies for lunch because I don't have to sit down to eat them. Again, this is a phase. But I love smoothies for breakfast because you can just doctor them up with so much stuff. You have your liquid base. I often recommend adding some frozen vegetables like spinach. I love frozen zucchini, frozen cauliflower, frozen fruit. So I tend to recommend keep the fruit like about a cup max. So I often will recommend like frozen berries, frozen bananas, any frozen fruit that you like. But making sure that there's like a good vegetable to fruit ratio to avoid going overboard on fruit. Other stuff that I will recommend putting in there, you want to do some greens. If you're not doing frozen protein powder, I love to recommend putting in there just to bump up the protein. Otherwise, you could make it with Greek yogurt or cottage cheese. For healthy fats, nut butter or chia seeds or ground flax are awesome. Sometimes I'll freeze avocado and I will put the frozen like quarter of avocado in there. So you have a lot of options, but smoothies are great because they're easy to make, easy to consume. And you can even make smoothie packs in like little resealable bags with all the ingredients. And then when you're ready to make it, all you got to add is that liquid. And if you're adding anything like protein powder or nut butter or things like that at the time that you're making it. And then more on the savory side, a veggie omelet or scramble, I think is a super great way to work in lots of nutrients. So you might have that with, I love like, for example, spinach, peppers, mushrooms. You can add a slice of avocado toast on the side for more fiber and some healthy fats. So that's a great option as well. Or dinner leftovers, whether you're eating them just as is, like I'm not gonna lie, like, I kind of love like leftover like meat and veggies for dinner. Like this is gonna sound ridiculous, but like leftover Chinese food or like there's something about for me like I'm not above having like leftover shrimp and broccoli for breakfast. You can also repurpose it with eggs or make like a breakfast wrap. So that's something else that my clients have really liked. So how do we make this easy, right? Like I just shared a few ideas, make ahead ideas with you, or things that don't take much time. But you can prep overnight oats, smoothie packs ahead of time. I didn't mention chia pudding, but that's another great make ahead option. You can keep some grab and go staples on hand. So things like hard boiled eggs that you can either make ahead of time or buy already boiled. Single serving Greek yogurts, packets of nut butter, fruit that's easy to grab. Those are your BFFs. Or you can either make or buy egg and veggie muffins, or you can make like a breakfast hash with like one of my favorite combos is like ground turkey and a bunch of different vegetables. And if you want to add eggs, you can. You don't have to. Again, like that's not traditional breakfast, but I think it's delicious. You can also embrace really simple pairings, especially if you're not super hungry in the morning. So that can be like an apple and nut butter or whole grain toast with avocado and hemp seeds. So just to kind of keep that in mind. Again, you don't have to do all the things that I'm saying exactly, but just some ideas to get the wheels turning a little bit and figure out what works for you. Anything that you can make ahead can be really helpful. If you're going through a really stressful phase in your life or a really busy phase, don't feel like you have to be spending tons of time in the kitchen. Simple is good. So anything that can save time, either you're purchasing things that are pre-made or pre-chopped produce or pre-made proteins, that can be really helpful. Or if you make things and then freeze them for later use, that can also be really helpful. So when I am in the kitchen preparing food, I like to think about how I can maximize my time. Like I'm making one thing in the oven. Is there something else I can put in there that'll be useful later? Or if I have that 5 minutes, instead of like messing around on my phone, can I make a couple little jars of overnight oats or chia pudding? Or if I'm making one thing that I really like, can I make a bigger batch so I have more for later? Don't feel like you have to be cooking from scratch every time. Just in terms of mindset, something that comes up a lot, what I see happen very often with my clients is that as metabolism naturally starts to shift with age, and some people they notice the effects in a more pronounced way than others, but sometimes that freaks people out and they panic and then they get really restrictive. But what I really want you to know about just supporting healthy metabolism through nutrition and exercise is that consistency matters much more than perfection or intensity. And on the food side, I always encourage focusing on what you can add or what you can prioritize. So in this case, we're talking about protein, fiber, healthy fats, not about what you're restricting. That I have just seen not work. I once had a client break up with me because I wanted her to eat more than 1,200 calories a day. She was not meeting her goals. She refused to increase her calories because she was terrified that it would lead to weight gain. And honestly, what I've seen more and more often is actually the opposite, that when someone starts eating enough, especially if we're talking about someone who's been trying to lose weight and having difficulty, when they're well nourished, the body is like, oh, yeah, this is great. Okay, like it is safe to lose weight in a healthy way. So I just wanted to share that. Like, don't focus on restricting. Now, if you're someone who is maybe in a life phase where you are over consuming calories, and I don't like to go into calorie counting, but two ways I see this show up is somebody eating a lot of like processed and or packaged food that's not super filling, but it is very calorie dense. So they feel like they're not eating much, but they are consuming more than maybe their body needs and are struggling with weight management. Or something I see sometimes is often someone who spends a lot of time on social media, they hear all these different ingredients are healthy, so they start adding a ton of things to their meals and snacks and not really understanding that sometimes it can add up. I worked with someone once who was adding, for example, to a cottage cheese bowl, they were adding olive oil and walnuts and avocado and I forget, some kind of seeds and some other things. And those were all really healthy foods, but they really didn't realize that they were consuming way more than they needed at that meal. So, we talked about spacing out those different really great for you foods in a way that was more supportive of their goals. So, just like to share that as well. Just to know that the balanced breakfast, it's an act of self-care that fuels energy, productivity, your mood. You deserve to be well fueled, especially we show up for so many people. And listen, I struggle with this too sometimes where I'll be like, oh my God, how selfish am I to like be like feeding myself when I have to be 100% focused on my daughter. Like I definitely have to remind myself that like if I'm not fed, I'm useless to her. Like things like that. Just remind yourself that you deserve to be taken care of, especially because other people count on you. And it is really important to take care of yourself where you can. If you need support, you need help, don't be afraid to ask for it. Do what you need to do, but don't feel guilty. Self care is not selfish, it's essential. And balanced breakfast is a part of that. So if you found this helpful, I would love for you to either leave a comment if you're listening on Spotify, leave a review on Apple Podcasts, maybe telling me your favorite high protein, high fiber, healthy fat breakfast. If you want more ideas for what to eat in day to day life in all different scenarios, I'd love for you to come join me on Substack. I'm at jessicacording.substack.com. Of course, you're welcome to follow me on Instagram at jesscording. I'm also on the other social media platforms. I just happen to be most active there. So if you want little glimpses of day to day life, come hang out with me. As always, guys, I appreciate you being here so much. I hope you found this useful, and we'll talk soon.